Welcome to House of Horns. You are live. We are live, Gilbert, for the Rams post game show. And joining me today is Gilbert Manzano, Sports Illustrated staff writer. Gilbert, the Rams win their third straight. They're the seventh seed as we're speaking right now. They defeat the Browns 36-19. Give me your takeaways of this game. I mean, this should have been a close game, but the Rams just separated themselves late in the game.
Yeah, a lot to unpack here, and that's good news for the Rams. They dominated in a complete performance here, and that's where I'll start here. And by the way, if you're watching live, drop a comment, give us your takeaways, your thoughts about this beatdown. Can I say that beatdown of the Cleveland Browns for three straight wins here for the playoffs? Like you mentioned, Victor, they're currently a wild card team. We have to see what happens with the Packers later on and kind of figure out where they truly stand. But it was a complete performance. Matthew Stafford dealing Kyron Williams running the football physical. Puka Nacua, Cooper Cup, both involved in the passing game. Finally, Aaron Donald with the safety at the end. John Johnson turning back the clock with the interception. That is the key words of the phrases complete performance or complete beatdown.
Yeah, and before I get into my takeaway, Gilbert, I want to give an engagement question real quick. How many wins do the Rams need to get in the playoffs? As I said, they're the seventh seed as of right now because of their tiebreaker with the Seahawks after they lost to the Cowboys. This Rams win pulls them right as the seventh seed now, and now we wait for to see if the Packers lose to the Chiefs, and now they're in sole possession of seventh place in the playoffs. But my takeaway is just this offense, when healthy now, Gilbert, it looks unstoppable. Like that's been the thing too. The other thing I wanted to point out, Gilbert, is the fact that the Rams are 6-3 with the healthy Kyron Williams. As you've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, a healthy Kyron Williams is the difference for this offense. And now with everybody getting involved, look at what they did against the number one ranked defense. We all said, hey, it's going to be a struggle for them to score points. That wasn't the case. They moved the ball, and honestly, my biggest takeaway is Stafford. Like that tight window pass that he had against Puka Nacua was just beautiful. I mean that pretty much opened up this offense. The Browns were stacking the box. They were not going to let Kyron Williams take over this game, and so the Rams adjusted beautifully. And now they sit, now they've won three in a row, and they're 6-6.
Yeah, no, that's a great point because when I looked at the box score, they had 400 yards on this top ranked defense that we kept talking about in the preview show, House of Horns. Like, I don't know, they're pretty good. They're only allowing 250 yards per game. It's kind of a historic pace. The last time a team did that for an entire season was 2008 Pittsburgh Steelers. They won the Super Bowl. And Vic, you can even make a case that this team might be better with Joe Flacco at quarterback, even with Deshaun Watson. Like
Yeah.
Flacco was actually pretty good. And I know the broadcast was trying to say, yeah, it was ugly for the Browns, but Flacco was actually, surprising. Good performance from him. But it was a good Browns team they beat. But I do like to highlight what you're mentioning on the Rams side, the offense against that Browns defense. And that makes you wonder now, if they get in, how dangerous can they be? We were talking about the Lions potentially being a matchup there in the wild card spot. But they're healthy. And I kept hinting at, like I told you, when Kyron Williams is back, they're going to be a good team. But I did not expect it to be this good. And maybe I had little doubts too in the back of my mind because it was 6 weeks without Kyron Williams. I'm like, how do you plug him back in? And quickly last week against the Cardinals, well, it's the Cardinals. And this week against the Browns, now it's like, okay, they're a legit threat here. And like we mentioned all year in House of Horns, the defense has been doing its job. And you know what's impressive too, Victor? Like Flacco did have his moments, maybe because they wanted them to be one dimensional because this team feeds off of the running game. I know Jerome Ford got that touchdown early, but I think they were held under 100 yards rushing. So no defense, no rushing attack. You take away the Browns' identity right there.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, Kyron Williams with we said you need to get above 20 carries. They got that today. 22 carries, 88 yards, one touchdown. Even Nakua, they ran the ball. And that was going to be my next point with Puka Nacua. I said a couple of weeks ago, you need to run this offense through Puka Nacua on the passing side of things, and they're starting to do that. They're not only just feeding him the ball, but they're also running him on jet sweeps. I mean, he could have had around 100 yards rushing if it wasn't for that call that got on that jet sweep that got called back on that terrible penalty on Demarcus Robinson. You can tell Juan Thornhill just pretty much played, and he was like, I'm gonna try to get a call here. He got away with it, but credit to the Rams, they just kept plugging away. And another, as you said, let me just go through here with the stats. Nacua, 4 receptions, 104 yards, and 1 touchdown, 2 carries for 34 yards. Cooper Kupp, 6 catches, 36 yards, 1 touchdown. Demarcus Robinson, 3 receptions, 40 yards, and 1 touchdown. And then also, let me give you a couple more things that have to do with Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua is the sixth player since 1970's merger to reach 1,000 yards in his first 12 games, joining Odell Beckham Jr., Justin Jefferson, Aquan Bolden, Randy Moss, and Marcus Coulson. That's great company, Gilbert. I mean, those are some great players. I would say at least three of those guys are going to probably be Hall of Famers. So that's a good list to be on. And then Puka Nacua's 70-yard touchdown was the longest Rams offensive play since week 5 against the Cowboys last season, when Cooper Kupp had a 75-yard receiving touchdown. So a
Yeah.
lot going on in this game.
I'm glad you took the credit for saying that, a few weeks ago, Sean McVay, make Puka Nacua the feature point of your offense, or at least in the passing game. I think Kyrie Williams is still number one in my book for the most
Yes.
important player. But Puka Nacua definitely in the passing game makes everything open up. And I don't know what's going on with Cooper Kupp, but to see him in the end zone, I'm sure was big. And to have Puka and Cooper contribute, I don't know what's going on with Higbee too. I think he has an injury. But Demarcus Robinson stepped up. That was a great sequence there with a 30-yard pass, a 7-yard touchdown after that. So you got a lot of people stepping up here. And, when Kyrie Williams came back, the ground game started going. And even, when you have a ground game, suddenly the offensive line looking pretty nice too. So it's a whole complete performance. But, yeah, take the credit on Puka Nacua and being the feature wide receiver, cracking 1,000-yard receiving. And, there was a little scare, though, because he left for a bit. I think they were saying maybe a ribs thing. And I'm like, oh,
It
that's
looked
going
like
to
a
suck.
shoulder. It looked like a
Okay.
shoulder, and he left. And I know a lot of people. I know we saw Tank Dell, another rookie who's been
Yeah.
outstanding this season. He broke. I think he fractured his tibia, so he's out for the season. So it was like, oh, now we're losing Puka Nacua now in the afternoon game. But he came back in the at the beginning of the third quarter.
He's tough, man. Like, all these injuries are racking up, piling up for him, and he keeps playing, doesn't miss time. So, yeah, that was a scare there. But when he came back and the player you're talking about, the end around or the running play they called back, but he's just so productive, dynamic, and he does so much. He is definitely the fit when you talk about Sean McVay's 11 personnel. I know he's evolved this season with more of a run-heavy approach, which is great. And for a couple of weeks, it seemed like he was going to be stubborn about that.
Yeah.
But Puka Nacua is a Sean McVay guy. He could run the ball, catch the ball, could block, could do it everything all in 11 personnel. So this was a typical game you wanted with Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams leading the way. And the old guys are kind of taking to the back seat, but they're still going to be pivotal, especially if they make the playoffs. But imagine having that core with Kupp, Stafford, and Aaron Donald, 3 veterans. I think people here on listeners and viewers of House of Horns highlighted that maybe during the Wednesday show, saying they get in with a veteran core, a team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That is dangerous. Mixed in with a rookie class that's contributing, like a Kobe Turner. Obviously, you got Puka Nacua, but so many guys are involved. And we mentioned last week Jordan Fuller getting involved, John Johnson doing something today. So, overall, like, I don't want to get there just yet thinking about the playoff scenarios. I know we did a little bit with the Lions, but just to get here, Victor, after the 3-point game with Brett Rippon, where everybody was losing their mind, myself included, 3-6 going into the bye week. Seahawks, Cardinals, Browns, 3 straight wins in a game that we, kind of hinted it wasn't a must win, but it was one of those games you gotta have because you're playing the Ravens next week, and it's tough too. But you're looking nice, and I think I just saw the tweet from Jordan Rodriguez saying the Rams' playoff chances now are 55%, according to the New York Times, projections.
Yeah, the New York Times poll there, they have them around. I before the game they said it was around 57. It sounds about right with 55. And it just, if the more wins they get, I mean, they're going. Let me give you their schedule going forward. We'll talk about it more as we preview the game against the Ravens. But this is what they have left with 5 games to go. They're at the Ravens next week. Then they come home for 2 games They play the Commanders, who just look like they're ready for the off season. And then same thing with the Saints. So on a Thursday night, and as you talked about, I don't think it's going to get flexed out. We thought maybe it get
Yeah,
flexed out just because it was the Giants. I mean the Saints,
Saints.
and then the one that I'm kind of, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, Gilbert. It's not the one at the 49ers. The one I'm a bit concerned about for this Rams team is going to New York against the Giants. The Giants don't have anything to play for. You get a bad weather game, and you get a terrible performance. It's gonna happen. We saw it today with some teams like the Steelers against the Cardinals. That's the game that I'm worried about for the
Mm.
Rams. And then, like I said, they close out against the 49ers, who might not be playing for anything at that end, but they've also might want to keep the Rams out, if they have to play them the following week. So there's a lot to kind of digest there, Gilbert.
Yeah, by the way, I got the cat running around here, super excited. So if you see like light issues, what I'm doing right now, you're gonna take over, Vic. But
Yeah,
that schedule there, it's gonna be a weird scenario where like, okay, we think they're gonna beat the Commanders and the Giants and the Saints, but they have to win those for sure because I feel like it's gonna be a competitive race. But after they did with the Browns in dominant fashion, as the cat ran off perfect, he didn't mess anything up. It feels like, hey, maybe they could go into Baltimore, maybe they beat the 49ers. It'll be kind of a say they are in the thick of the race and they're going to probably lock in before week 18 and playing the 49ers in week 18. They're going to show us like really who they are, but that's getting too far ahead. But it's going to be a tough schedule. But just to look right now, this is a game you needed to have. It wasn't must win again, but you're looking so nice with so many possibilities. Like, yeah, maybe you lose that one, maybe you lose that one. But as some of the listeners and viewers of House of Horns have pointed out, hey, they could probably maybe run the table. Who knows?
yeah, we'll see. And I mean, like I said, it's prime there for them to get in. The percentages keep going up for them for to be able to make the playoffs. But I just wanted to highlight a couple of things, Gilbert, here. Just going over to the defense as well. This is the third straight. I told you when we did the preview that if the Rams defense allows a third straight opening drive touchdown, that it's probably good luck for them, because
Oh yeah.
they've done it the last two times and they won. They did the same thing today, and and they adjusted really well against Joe Flacco, as you said. Like, I really like Joe Flacco for this Browns team. I think down the stretch, if they start him, I think they're in a good situation. But that's besides the point. The other thing I wanted to point out, as you said, John Johnson got his first start against his former team,
Oh yeah.
and then he gets the only turnover. What did we say? That was the key, Gilbert. I said,
Yeah.
do not beat yourself. Let the other team beat themselves. And in the fourth quarter, the Browns beat themselves with that Joe Flacco interception. I think he tried to get a little he got a little confidence in him. He tried to juke the ball down the field, and it cost him late in the game. But I really like Flacco for this Browns team if they end up deciding to start him the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I do too, and I know that's kind of like the positive notes for the Browns there. But they're on the West Coast, and the Rams handle business at home. If we mentioned earlier in the season, the Rams couldn't win at home. Now they're doing it. LAFC
FC.
beast. Okay, could be a heavily run game next week. Weather shows showers in Baltimore next week, and the more I think about it, Victor, I know it's a tough environment in Baltimore, and kind of like what the Browns did going to the West Coast, the Rams have to do it in Baltimore, but the Ravens lost Mark Andrews, and that really affected the offensive identity there. So if somehow the Rams get an early lead and force the Ravens to play from behind, which is tough to do, that's a very good defense too. But LAFC beast, it could be one of these running game rushing attacks, and when you have a team that's blocking, running the ball with Kyron Williams, they have a chance, especially in Baltimore.
Yeah, I do too. All right, Gilbert. I know we're getting down to you. You got to get ready for the Sunday night football game. So just give me your final thoughts on this win. What does this do for the Rams? You got 5 games to go, and then just your impressions of this game. What you like, what you didn't like.
Yeah, just me talking about their chances of maybe going into Baltimore and stealing one. That tells me how impressive they were this week. And I know the 49ers were crushing the Eagles, but you can make the case that the Rams did the same thing to the Browns, a playoff team and a very tough AFC North. So they're in there. We can't really talk yet where they are because the Packers are playing tonight. They lost to the Packers, but that was such a wake up call. And I guess that's my final point. How much they've turned it around since that loss. they signed Carson Wentz for just in case, and here they are. They're covering all their bases, and everything's kind of turning up nicely. And I think somebody pointed out earlier this week that a lot of teams have their injury waves right now. The Rams had it early, and they're making the most of it when these teams are banged up, and they're a little fresher, and they're young too, and that helps out too down the stretch. So veteran core mixed with a surgeon, inexperienced cast of players that are making plays every single week. I think that's my final takeaway.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Gilbert, it makes me think that that bye week for the Rams was came at a perfect time because it allowed the coaches to kind of see where they were at. It kind of allowed them to put, players where they needed, put in a new, install some new design plays, and we've seen a lot of motion in this. They've changed up some things that has helped their ground game. Getting Kyron Williams back was huge as well, and then just incorporating Puka Nacua as the main focal of this passing offense has also just been key to this offense. And now 3 games in a row, they've needed a winning streak. And now, like, I feel like you're gonna start seeing tomorrow and the next day just people jumping on the Rams bandwagon. They're 6-6. As of right now, they're the 7th seed. You're gonna, see a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon. Hey, this Rams team, if they get in, they're going to be that dangerous team. So get used to that, Ram fans, because people are going to start jumping. You're going to be like, where were these people at when we were 3-6 and we had Brett Rippin in there? But that's the way the NFL goes. We talked about it. Hey, late in the season, that's when you want to get hot. You're healthy, and so kudos to the Rams. They're playing good ball at the right time. All right, Gilbert, who gets your 12-pack of beer of the game in this
Yeah,
game?
there's way too many options here, but I think I'm gonna go to somebody who's hasn't had it this year, but has had many winning victory beers over the decorated Hall of Fame career. And I think Aaron Donald getting that safety at the end was well deserved because they were creating a lot of push against Joe Flacco. They made him one dimensional after the early touchdown drive to start the game. They recovered. They didn't get 100 yards rushing with the Browns. So when you take away that, take away their physical element and you're creating turnovers with John Johnson, I think it worked out for this defense. And Aaron Donald deserves it because he's a glue to this defense. He hasn't had his name mentioned a lot this year, but as you know, when you look at the trenches and he's over there clogging the lanes and getting double, triple teams, he's always doing his part. But it doesn't stand out until you get the sacks or the safeties like today. So make sure you enjoy that 12-pack of beer.
And yeah, and that reminded me, Gilbert, and great call by you with the with Aaron Donald. But Bobby Brown being back, he was another guy that's kind of been underrated. That they lost to IR. He comes back. He's been able to plug those holes. And Aaron Donald, I saw like there was a couple rushes where he was triple team, and there was not a lot of pass rush in this game, but you know. They got a lot of help from the secondary, and then he finally broke through and got that safety. And then for me, it's Puka Nacua. I mean, like I've been saying, just how tough he is. That kid is just continues to impress. Every time we're like, okay, well, what else can he do? He hit a wall. It looked like 2 games ago, and it also didn't help the fact that he was playing with the backup quarterback. But since now that Stafford is healthy, and then he's starting to get healthy himself, even when everybody thought that he was probably hurt and wasn't going to come back, he comes back to start the third quarter, puts on a great performance. Those jet sweeps, doing the dirty work. He had the other thing too that was really impressive, Gilbert, was that block that let Kyron Williams have a big run in the third quarter. So, and like some guys when they hurt their shoulders or they get hurt, they're not going to put their body on the line there for a block. And the guy, as we said, Gilbert, one thing that I'll give myself credit for, and we talked about it before the season. I said he needs to be the what's his name, Woods, when Cooper Cup had the triple crown, because he needs to do the dirty work. And he's not only being featured in this offense, but he's also still doing the dirty work. And that's a tribute to that kid.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. And it all started with that touchdown. Was it 75, 70 yards? I forget. And like you mentioned, great throw by Stafford, great route running and to be in the right spot for Puka. And that just tells you how much chemistry these two have there for making that play look so pretty and just so, in sync. So, yeah, keep it going, Puka Nacua. And he's a tough competitor and he makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, Rams 666. The Rams are 6-6. They're the 7th seed right now, Gilbert. go ahead and close us out. That's all we have for you guys. We gotta get Gilbert to
Yeah.
the Sunday night football game.
Yeah, let's see what the Packers do. They currently own the tiebreaker over the Rams, but maybe it turns out the way for the Rams here. Maybe they're for sure in the playoff picture. I don't even know what it'd be for the tiebreaker with the say the Packers, the Seahawks, the Vikings, and the Rams are all 6-6. But we'll get to that later, and definitely check out the show on Wednesday. If you're watching right now on the replay, comment, and we always get back to your comments. But on that note, ya nos vamos, pues, vámonos.